I was in America recently. They seem to all be either laughing at us or using us as some sort of beacon of despair in terms of free speech.
Don't blame them.
Yeah, is it worse over here? And I suppose, has it got worse since Keir Starmer's got in charge? You were implying that a lot of this came from the Tories before that.
It's left and right, both. We don't have a First Amendment. We don't have a codified constitution. We desperately need one. Elements of the left in America are trying to amend their First Amendment so it doesn't cover certain forms of speech. That's the slippery slope you want to avoid. Quite desperately.
People getting arrested here.
I think it's absolutely horrific. So the draconian sentencing, where you've had judges explicitly saying, I am giving you a particularly harsh sentence to set an example. They've said it multiple times. We've had people being advised by their legal team, just plead guilty because you'll be on remand indefinitely. So you have, and once, of course, you plead guilty, then the argument seems to be closed. And so, I've written about this quite a lot on my Substack, and a number of comments I get are like, yeah, but they pled guilty. That's it. End of conversation. No. For a start, I mean, a lot of the people, and people like Lucy Connolly, people like Jordan Parler, these people who have put out tweets that are horrible. I don't approve of the tweets at all. Ending up in prison for years. That's more scary to me than the tweets they posted. And I think in America, at least, you have what they call the Brandenburg Test for incitement to violence, which is effectively, this goes back to a Supreme Court case, I think in the 1960s, where a KKK supporter was, I think he had his conviction quashed by the Supreme Court on the grounds that he hadn't incited violence. And so his name, I think, was Clarence Brandenburg. So we get this idea of the Brandenburg Test. What it effectively means is some idiot posting a meme on Twitter or saying, why don't we go and smash up that hotel or whatever, wouldn't meet the threshold for incitement to violence by the Brandenburg Test, because it has to be, firstly, intended to stir up violence, likely to stir up violence, and that any violence that could ensue must be imminent. This means that none of these people who are currently in prison for this come anywhere close to that kind of threshold. It's also why a lot of people sort of dropped the idea that Donald Trump had incited violence on January the 6th, because his comments don't come anywhere close to the Brandenburg Test. It's a good, solid test to have. I think one example that I give in my book on free speech is I sort of envisage this scenario where a demagogue is in a time of heightened political tension, is standing in front of a mob, an adoring mob, and that he points to someone on the front row and says, kill them now. He's worked them up into a frenzy, and then the man is dead within minutes. That would fulfill the Brandenburg Test. And I think what we desperately need here is for the law to be changed so that the Brandenburg Test is implemented or something equivalent to it. And the counter argument to this is always, yes, but when these people say these horrible things, it leads to real world harm. No, it doesn't. And what's really interesting about that is we know it doesn't, because we've had decades of research into this. If you look at there's been 7 decades now of research into media effects theory. We know categorically that popular culture and the media that people consume does not influence real world behavior. Okay, what it can do, it can give a kind of imprimatur of approval to people already predisposed to act in a certain way. But what it doesn't do is direct in a kind of monkey see, monkey do effect, that someone reads something on social media and then goes out and performs an act on the basis of that. That doesn't happen, never happens, and no expert in this field would claim that it did. I actually had an argument on that same Radio 4 show they brought in this media effects expert who wanted to argue that we should censor online speech, by the way. And she was making the case that, but when pressed on it, she said, well, no, of course, there's no evidence of any causality.
Oh.
But she says what happens is she's in the realm of speculation and theory. I don't think speculation and theory should result in long draconian jail terms for anyone. Mm-hmm. This theory, this idea, which you find in any authoritarian movement, this idea that, or any pro-censorship movement, that words cause real world harm, words online, words, this is the same theory that I've just recently read a book by Mary Whitehouse called Cleaning Up TV, which she wrote in the 1960s. So it's her first book. And it's quite clear there's a lot of misunderstandings about Mary Whitehouse, by the way. Okay. But what's very interesting about the book is she very clearly subscribes to this idea that popular culture, the stuff we put out there, particularly through TV, will corrupt the masses. This is the identical viewpoint now of The Guardian, The New Statesman, all the activist publications. It's the identical viewpoint of the Labour government and the Tory government, who believe that we need a thing called the Online Harms Bill to protect us. It's the view of every major European government. at the moment, as far as I can see, apart from some of the new ones that are coming up, Mary Whitehouse's view has completely won out. Isn't that strange?
Yeah.
By the very people who claim to oppose everything she stands for, they now endorse the key principle of her movement.
What was once seen as conservatism.
Because it's got nothing to do with left and right. Because it's to do with how much you mistrust the great unwashed. Ultimately, that's what it is. You know, that's why you have people in the Democrat Party blaming the voters for voting the wrong way, or for being tricked, or why you have people standing in Parliament like Ben Bradshaw did and said that the Brexit vote was swung by Russian bots, as though anyone is going to read a bot account online and then mechanically, like some sort of automaton, go out and vote a certain way. Human beings don't work that way. Even propaganda doesn't work that way. All the evidence into propaganda shows that it only has an effect when people are predisposed to the thing that is being propagandized in the first place.